noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And this is CarEdge Live for Tuesday, Tax Day, April 15th. Please get your tax returns filed today, folks, if you haven't already. And your hosts today are me, Ray, who just made a huge contribution to the U.S. Treasury, and, well, my son, Zach, who's probably still working on his taxes. Maybe not.
Got him done this morning, Pops. Got him done this morning.
Bless your heart, young man. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Happy Tuesday, April 15th, everyone. We're going to be talking about some big Honda news. Really, it's a rumor at the moment because we've got some interesting publications coming out of Asia, coming out of Canada, and here in the United States. But it's a big deal, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Today's show is sponsored by our friends over at Delete Me, so we're going to talk about them in about 7 to 10 minutes. And we must remind everyone,
yes,
that CarEdge.com is the company that my dad and I started over 5.5 years ago. It is incredible to see how much this company has grown and how many people we've been able to help. We are offering for the foreseeable future here for another, I think, 19 days, 20 days, something like that, 25% off our CarEdge Insights and our car buying services. Both of our products and services are 25% off, the largest discount we have ever offered here at CarEdge because of those 25% import tariffs. We're trying to do all that we can to help our community. Now, talking about helping the community, Dad, Honda is talking about helping the community here in the United States avoid a 25% import tariff. This is coming out of the Nikkei over in Japan, Dad. The headline reads, Honda considers increase in U.S. production to meet 90% of local sales, relocating their production facilities from Mexico and Canada in an effort to make sure that they don't have to hit or don't get hit by those 25% import tariffs. This is being covered left and right, obviously there by the Nikkei. It's being covered here in Reuters. It's also being covered, of course, over in Automotive News. This is a big deal, Dad. This is one of the first automakers to come out and say, hey, we are really considering and might make the move to move production to the United States. And I just want to be clear, this is from a CTV News up in Canada. Not accurate is what a Canadian, what Doug Ford, the Canadian premier, has said here that Honda is going to do that. But this is a big deal, man. Let's talk about why this is such a big deal.
It is a big deal. But, you know, there's things that you have to read between the tea leaves, as you like to say.
Yeah.
Yes, some of the U.S. production will move to the United States in an effort to avoid additional tariffs. They're talking about doing this over the next 2 to 3 years. It's not happening tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. It does not mean that for the rest of the world, they won't continue building the vehicles that they're building in Canada or Mexico. They will. They'll just get shipped elsewhere.
No, for sure, Dad. But let's just focus domestically here. You know, our audience is here in the U.S. People don't really want our take on what's happening to European car prices or Asian car. Like, let's just focus on the U.S. The big nugget that you just shared there is 2 to 3 years. However,
Yes.
Dad, I wonder, we've seen this administration be very, very aggressive in terms of movement. Like they oscillate left, right every single hour, let alone every single day or week. I wonder if this announcement from Honda, if it becomes a formal announcement, because Honda's spokesperson has come out and said, at this point, there's no formal statement from Honda. This is just rumors, but it's obviously rumors being picked up by the Nikkei, the largest business publication in Asia, and being reproduced everywhere. I wonder, Dad, if that gets you in the good graces of this administration, because it would take 2 to 3 years to actually move production to the United States. It's not like they can just snap their fingers and now they're producing all the vehicles here in the US. And I imagine the administration understands that. So I wonder, Dad, if this is a move from Honda to try and get a little bit of good grace from the current administration, maybe have tariffs waived on their vehicles as they are doing a transition. This could be a big strategic move to try and gain market share, to try and grow in the US faster than, say, Toyota or some of the other, not Nissan, others.
Could be. Who knows? It is, you know, because it can't happen overnight.
Yeah.
Because it's you have to kind of sort of play a game with what you're going to do.
Yeah.
You have to say one thing. Whether or not you actually end up doing it is, we all have to wait and see.
Yep.
There have been rumblings coming out of the White House that perhaps that they will exempt autos for tariffs. Nobody seems to know. Now, is there a greater likelihood moving forward that tariffs could be eliminated or reduced, the 25% tariffs eliminated or reduced on those vehicles produced in Canada and Mexico if more and more of the manufacturers said, okay, we're going to try and move as much production into the United States itself as we possibly can. And you need to understand, Mr. President and Secretary of Commerce, this can't happen tomorrow. It's going to take 2 to 3 years worth of planning to make it happen. Will you give us some relief why we are attempting to make that happen?
Exactly.
So, yes, to your point, that could be what they're trying to do. Will that encourage the administration to say yes?
Who knows? I don't know. Yeah, to be clear, we're not here to prognosticate on that. The big deal is that Honda, to be clear, these rumors don't come out in the Nikkei and in Reuters and automotive news without people talking about it. It's not like some journalist gets approval from their editor to be able to publish this story without some credible sources. So Honda is obviously
the credible source comes directly from Honda.
Honda. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So Honda is actually going to do this, is the current operating mindset I have. Do they have a formal statement out yet? No.
It seems to me, is Honda going to do this, or are they floating a trial balloon to see what the response from the White House will be?
Yeah, exactly. And then it makes me wonder, Dad, what will General Motors do? What will Nissan do? What will Toyota do? Because they're seeing Honda go out there and they're the first to market with this trial balloon of, hey, you know what? We're going to move 90% of our production to the United States. All right, let's see what the response is. Does Toyota next come out and say, you know what, we're going to move 90% of our production to the United States? Does BMW, they're the largest importer here, do they come out next? So this, I think, to me, Dad, Honda did surprise everyone because they didn't have to do this. They're floating a trial balloon to see what's going to happen. And if it's a positive response, then I bet you we see more of these automakers do the exact same thing.
Yes, absolutely. It kind of sort of reminds me of the Foxconn proposal that they were going to build this huge production facility in Wisconsin. And there was a huge press conference. And it was going to be big. It's never happened, but it was a hell of a press conference, and it made for a hell of a headline. So is that the type of stuff that we're seeing here now with these trial balloons? I don't know. I mean, is this the type of signals that you have to send to this administration to get them to back off? Or
who knows, man? Who knows? But again, we don't necessarily need to prognosticate on that. I want to talk about what impact this would have to pricing here. And I've got some really interesting data from the month of March and so far in April that'll help frame that conversation. But before we do, Dad, we must
you were speaking of data. Yes, go.
We must take a moment. We must take a moment to acknowledge the sponsor of today's show, our friends over at Delete Me. Now, Dad, data brokers are out there selling our what?
Data, our information, our private information. Well, what we thought was private information.
Things like our
email address, phone number, personal address. Hell, they probably even have my ex-wives listed.
And also your social security number. They're all available online to marketer scammers and those elusive folks in between. Now, the reason we like Delete Me, y'all, is because my dad and I both like to take control over our data, and you can too. Delete Me removes your personal information from hundreds of data brokers online, and you can see here in my Delete Me account, they are every single month reviewing thousands of listings and removing my personal information. And you can get started today with a 20% off coupon code. Just use CarEdge at joindeleteme.com/CarEdge. All right, Dad, I want to turn our attention back to some of the interesting data that is coming out that talks about what is actually happening here so far in this post-tariff environment. And I'm going to jump over here. We have a weekly automotive update from Cox Automotive, and you can see here, sales trends for new and used vehicles are well above last year's levels through early April. Retail vehicle sales are rising sharply due to tariff pull ahead. Low interest rate deals are down 5 points year over year, and 0% interest loans are also lower. So the big takeaway here is that you have new car and used car sales spiking right now. There's a little bit of panic buying happening at the moment because folks are trying to beat the potential impacts of tariffs, which we do think, to be clear, all the analysts and researchers say anywhere from $2,000 to $20,000 is how much more expensive cars could become. So Honda coming out here and sharing this, leaking this information about moving production to the US in parallel with what we've realized, which is pull ahead demand, people purchasing sooner rather than later. It does set up for an interesting dynamic where maybe there's that competitive advantage where Honda will keep seeing sales gains while other automakers are struggling because maybe the tariffs get relieved from Honda versus others, et cetera, et cetera.
Uh, I think Honda is trying to play a strategic game, and whether the strategy plays out, I don't know, but I do think that the spike in sales that we're seeing is people realizing that new car prices are going to go up, in my opinion, regardless of how many vehicles are actually impacted by tariffs. And the reason I say regardless is because just the threat of there being an increase due to tariffs
Has
will
increased
give
demand.
will give cover to dealers to discount what they have on the ground prior to tariffs to hold the price. Dealers won't be discounting their older inventory quite as aggressively as they might have in the past. And we know the manufacturers are already cutting back on incentives. I mean, we can see that. So that there are dealers out there that will take advantage of this situation, whether or not they ever receive a car with a tariff cost increase. There are people out there who, and I was one of them, who moved sooner rather than later in an effort to take advantage of the real strong incentives that there were prior to any potential tariff increases. So,
Yep.
yeah, and then what'll happen is if and when tariff prices really do, or the tariffs really do force prices to go up, I think we'll see a lull in sales this summer because so many people got pulled ahead into March and April.
And Dad, we're already seeing it show up. We talked about this just a touch yesterday. Average advertised price of vehicles back above $50,000 as tariff reality sets in and discounts wane. So we're already seeing it, Dad. We're already seeing the average listed price for vehicles, new vehicles, up above $50,000, a big number there. And you saw it when we just mentioned it a moment ago. Low interest rate deals are actually down, and there are fewer 0% finance deals out there in the world.
We know 0% interest financing was less than 1% of all financing deals. Less than 1%. Okay, so, and that was before tariffs. So the manufacturers are already cutting way back. I mean, there were some deals at 0.9 or 1.9. Many of those are now 4.9. There's only so much manufacturers are willing to absorb if their costs are going to go up. So you're going to see, you're definitely seeing incentives come down. You're definitely seeing prices go up, and we're seeing dealers being taking the position of being less motivated to sell their existing inventory.
A couple more data points here that help corroborate what we're seeing. But first, I want to remind everyone, back on CarEdge.com, click on research, and then click on best new car deals. Maybe we should rename that to be incentives, because that's what this is. This is the incentive search. You can come here, you can choose any vehicle. I'll choose a Ford. Give me 1 second. F-150. You know what? I'm going to do the F-150 Lightning, Dad, because the F-150 Lightning for a long time has had 0% financing for 72 months. But if I scroll down now, I can see here, I can see all of the cash incentives. I can click on literally any of these and learn more about what these incentives are, which is super helpful. Or I can click on finance here. And I can see the finance incentive from Ford is no longer 0% financing for 72 months on the F-150 Lightning. It's 1.9% financing for 36 months. And I can also, I think it's a great functionality that we have here, change my credit score. And I can see what happens to that rate as well. So then it jumps up to 3.9. And I have the lease incentives here as well, which also shows me the money factor, which is fantastic. Although it's a little bit cut off there, which is a bummer. So I'll have to fix that. But the money factor is right there. And if I select an incentive, I can actually see what cash incentives are also stackable on top of that. So I really, really, really encourage folks to spend some time in our best deals interface because it just gives you all the information right there for you.
Trust me, with employee pricing for on most of the vehicles, and the way they've cut back the incentives between the cost of the incentive and the cost of selling it at the A-plan pricing.
Yep.
When you add the two together, it's probably about as much as they were spending prior to tariffs, but it's just split differently.
So, Dad, one other data point from this summary, this weekly auto market summary from Cox Automotive is here. Under vehicle supply, new supply has fallen sharply over the last month, while used supply remains tight. New and used vehicle supply is declining and lower compared to 2024. So you have a spike in demand right now, panic buying. We have people going to Costco and buying all the toilet paper, except instead of it being Costco, it's your local Cadillac dealer. And instead of toilet paper, it's CT5s. Okay, we've got a spike in people panic buying right now. At the same exact time, we have a lower level of inventory. The lower level of inventory is because last month we also saw panic buying, and we've had automakers stop production, stop some imports. You've got a real good 1-2 punch right here that makes it a tricky market, to say the least. I will just reiterate what we talked about yesterday. If you got a car to sell, you're trading. That is where you have the most leverage in any transaction right now. Dealers, the whole industry is desperate for quality used cars. So just interesting. The data really tells a compelling story, and it's fascinating. We've got some folks asking, what did Honda do? It's fascinating to see Honda float this trial balloon. Hey, Mr. President. Hey, administration. Y'all win. 90% of our production going to come to the U.S. What do we get for that? That's the trial balloon that's being floated right now from Honda, which is so fascinating.
It's not 90% of their production is going to come to the
90% of their U.S. production.
It's 90% of what they produce in the U.S. will be for U.S. consumption.
Yep.
Okay, that's different.
That's a good point. It's a great point.
Yeah. I mean that is entirely different.
It is still, to be clear.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. And Dad, I hate to say it, but I think this is my personal opinion. This is not a reflection of CarEdge. My personal opinion is that I think this administration wants some feathers in their cap. I think they want to show that their strategy is working. And you know what? This headline, even if it gets misinterpreted, it shows that their strategy is working. And I think I really, in my heart of hearts, when I'm thinking strategically here, I think Honda is looking for, hey, we do this. What do we get? Okay, you get tariff exemption, or you get lower tariffs, or something. There's something there. And I think it feeds the administration in a way to say, okay, look, we've got a feather in our cap. It's working. So this is super strategic from Honda, in my opinion.
It's a way to make something seem better than it might really be in reality. So
because again, it's 2 to 3 years before anything actually happens.
Well, but this way, everybody gets to claim some form of victory.
Okay, can we talk about that for a second? Because at the end of the day, that's really what anyone wants. These business leaders, these politicians, they all just want to have a good story to tell. They just want to be able to stand up in front of people and say, hey, we're making progress. We're doing right. I mean, Dad, I lead all hands meetings to our companies. I do board meetings every quarter. I just need some good stories to tell, man. Give me some positive, a little bit of human psychology here that Honda, I think, is playing.
Oh, I think it's more than a little bit.
A lot of it.
Okay, I think it's a huge bit of psychology that they're playing here, and you have to understand the audience that you're playing to. I said it when I was doing all the emails in regards to when I was working on the deal for my particular car.
Yep.
And I knew they had marked up the money factor on the lease. And one of the responses was, well, you got to love me for trying. Yeah, sure, I love you for trying, but you should have known better. You have to know who your audience is. You have to play to your audience. I was just somebody that ran dealerships for 43 years. A little professional courtesy could go a long way. And And so with this particular audience, the administration needs some wins. So this is a headline they can put up. See, tariffs are working. Okay, more businesses are willing to invest more money in the United States to bring more jobs to the United States. It'll be 2 or 3 years, but the headline looks good, and Honda gets huge praise because they're saying, look at what we could possibly be doing. So yeah, it's knowing your audience, playing to your audience, getting a few wins, so that everything looks copacetic.
Dad, I want to go to the chat here, but before we do, I've got
Yes.
something super exciting, and there's 860 people with us right now. I need all 860 of you to help me out for just one moment. We just launched, like literally as we're on the show right now, the new latest version of our car search, Dad. Updated filters, okay? This is fantastic. Everything is brand new here. The vehicle detail pages are all still the same, so that's really great. But I just got to ask everyone, go to CarEdge.com, click on new or used if you're interested in a used car, and just start clicking around, playing around with the car search. If you run into an issue, obviously let us know. But my favorite thing about this, Dad, is we've added counts. Okay, so let's say you're in the market for a Mazda and you're in the market for a CX. We'll do a CX-5. You want to see new, you want to see used. It tells you how many there are. I'm within 50 miles right now.
Wow.
Right. But the counts, I think, make this so much better, especially when I get down to the trim level here. So I can see there are 192 that are S preferred. I can see 125 are S premium plus package. So we're going to do the preferred package. And then if I want to come here and I want to look at color, let's do gray ones. Interesting that the gray one yields a red image. We'll have to check that out. Then let's come here, Dad, and let's look at days on market. I can filter by days on market.
Colorblind, that red could look gray.
Dad, look at this. I can say, hey, I only want ones that have been on dealers' lots for over 90 days. Maybe I want to look at, I don't know. I'm running out of options here. Those are probably the good ones. And then you can see the price filters also dynamically updated as well. So really good stuff here from our team at CarEdge. Please, folks, go check this out. Play around with it. Break it. Break it. I hate to say it, but break it. And know that we continue to make things even better. And then Aaron saying private party. We could add private parties. So we'll consider that as well. We do have a data source there. So anyway, caredge.com/shop. Check it out. Let me know what you think. And CarEdge team, hope you don't mind me launching that literally right as it goes. We'll see what happens.
Well, there you have it.
All right, Dad. You want to go to our favorite segment of the show? Yeah.
I do love those filters, by the way.
I love that it has the counts now. Counts make
that's huge.
Yeah, I think it's actually, before we do that, from Joe had a very thoughtful contribution. Perhaps what number of quotes did you get on your CX-30? Did you go with Chapman? What dealership? How many quotes did you get, Dad, when you were reaching out to dealers? How many dealers did you contact?
Just 2. And yes, I ended up at Chapman. They're the closest to me, and we went back and forth. There's probably 30 emails. Fighting over this, fighting over that. I think it's great that you had paint protection and interior protection in every car, except I didn't want it. I'm not paying for it. Oh, but everybody does. No, I don't. No, everybody does. This is just a choice. You're making a bad choice. The whole all the crap that we talk about on how to negotiate with a dealer is in every one of the emails that I sent to the dealer.
Shocker.
Yeah. And I don't want to say that they caved at hello, because they did not. I told them what I did and who I was, and I sent them our website so that they could see who we are, so they know who they were working with. And they took every opportunity to treat me like any other customer and try and extract as much from me as they possibly could, instead of just caving at hello. So when you do this stuff, it's not, oh, you're Ray, we're just giving it away. It doesn't work like that. I have to work at it just like everybody else. But ultimately, I got where I wanted to be. They got enough that it was okay for them to move a unit, and everybody left happy. So but it's work. It's not like, hey, hello, yeah, okay, I'll take it. It doesn't go that fast. I wish
Yeah,
it did. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Dad, let's go to our favorite segment of the show.
Really? You have got to be kidding me, Carlos Traveris.
Stellantis investors protest $26 million payout for their ex-CEO, Carlos Tavares. As you all know, Carlos Tavares was ousted from Stellantis. They're currently in the process of trying to find a new CEO. And Dad, I just want to read some of the comments here. Tavares' pay at Stellantis was an issue for years. I'm just going to read this.
Okay.
Stellantis has for years been getting pushback over Tavares' pay, which peaked at 36.5 billion euros in 2023. At the shareholder meeting 3 years ago, investors rejected his remuneration in a non-binding vote. His salary for 2024 is, quote, overly generous, Allianz Global Investors said. The vote at the general meeting, April 15th, also is non-binding. Quote, despite engagement efforts, responses from Stellantis failed to alleviate concerns, the group said in a statement. Quote, there are ongoing concerns about the Remuneration Committee's actions and oversights. Another proxy firm, Institutional Shareholder Services, advised to vote against a proposal that would raise the amount the company can pay out via long-term incentives, saying Stellantis has already been granting its top executives, quote, excessive pay for years. Quote, it is unclear on the basis of what considerations the company believes that another increase is, quote, essential to be able to recruit a CEO. Just reading this, Dad, anyway, this guy's got 26 million bucks coming his way from getting fired. And these investors have been eaten at Stellantis for years about how much they pay their executives.
And one of my favorite sayings is nothing succeeds quite like failure. And apparently nothing pays quite as well as failure. So yeah, but hell, Mike Budenholzer, former coach of our beloved Phoenix Suns, collected $40 million over the next 4 years. I want that job. I'll be there. They can pay me, I don't know, $2 million a year for 5 years, and fire me after one. I'm good. It is just at this particular point in time. I will say this: whoever they hire as a CEO, they are probably going to have to overpay somebody really good to get them to come to what is now a failing company. They paid somebody really, really well to run the company into the ditch. Now they're going to have to pay somebody even more to get them out of the ditch. It's I guess pretty much the way that major corporations work. Mary Barra from GM, she had a tough year. She's only got compensated $29.5 million. The Rollinson from Lucid, he was making $400 million a year on a company that was losing billions. So it is. If you aspire to anything, Zach, aspire to lead as the CEO one of these major auto manufacturers, because they pay really well for mediocre results. You need a new plan, okay, to get that job. I'm just saying.
All right, fair enough. Dad, we had a very thoughtful contribution come in here from Rich. Thank you, Rich. We really appreciate it. Ray, I found your new ride, a McLaren X1 with a suggested price of $7 million. Pops.
What? Would I have to live in it? Because I'm pretty sure once I get in it, I'll never get out.
There's two issues here. Yeah, one, I don't think you can get into the damn thing. Two, where the hell are we getting $7 million?
I don't know. After we make a $50,000 error on data costs, it's nobody's signing off on a $7 million deal for one. Although it's a lovely looking car. Where is it? What is it?
Yeah, I don't think you're getting out of that thing.
Oh my God. I remember getting in an R8 once at our Audi store, and literally it took 3 people to pull me out of it. I was 8 or 9 years younger then. Not to suggest that I was any more nimble then than I am now, but that's I guess that could be a dream.
Yeah. Well, Pops, I want to remind everyone back on
Yes.
CarEdge.com, because there are now 25% tariffs on new cars imported to the United States. We are responding with 25% off, the largest promotion we have ever done, both on CarEdge Insights and our car buying services. So, folks, please, if you are in the market to buy a car or thinking about buying a car, or know someone who's in the market to buy a car or thinking about buying a car, please, please, please take a look there. We are really, really, really excited to be able to help out as many folks as possible. It is so uncertain right now what's going on in the world. It's the least we can do to try and help people out. Dad, let's call it a show. We'll be back tomorrow
Absolutely.
with more Car Edge Live.
Yes.
And, I only bought 2 new white t-shirts this weekend, so I'll have to wear a different t-shirt tomorrow. So stay
Yeah,
tuned
well,
for that.
yeah. No, I think you should, because I think that was an offhand way of saying, really, I only bought one, and I'm wearing the
Oh,
same
no, I did.
shirt.
I bought 2 because I really like them.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, because otherwise it looked like you were wearing the same shirt from yesterday, uh, and we don't want people to think that.
Yeah.
If you haven't had enough of me, I'll be on with my dear friend Brandon on Car Sense at about 1:30 this afternoon, and we'll be having our normal half-hour conversation for those of you who might be interested.
Fantastic. All right, Pops, enjoy. I love you. I'm going to get lunch with our cousin.
Yes,
And
tell Jason I say hello, and I let him know I not only love you, but I love him as well.
will do, Dad. Much love.
Yep. Talk to you later.
Bye.